In the last episode of my Toronto Thunderbirds franchise rebuild here on Madden 25, we officially wrapped up the regular season to Season 2, and we did it with a pretty solid performance. In that episode, we went 4-2, but more importantly, we won 4 of our last 5, and this game nearly got won on a Hail Mary. Had Brian Duvall been able to come down with it through the contact, we would have finished the season with a 5-game win streak, so I am really hoping we can carry some of that momentum into next year. But anyways, welcome back to this series. In today's episode, we will figure out who wins the Super Bowl, go over season stats and awards, and take on the entire offseason. But obviously, we have some stuff to take care of here on the side first. We are going to start with some of these upgrade points, and the first one we will take care of is kicker Glenn Griffin. We're going to upgrade his accurate trait just because I've explained it all season. He has 99 kick power, and this time we just get +2 to awareness and a new ability slot. We traded for defensive back Emmett Ward in the middle of the season. He was a star dev trait only in his second year. I felt like it was a pretty solid trade. But anyway, he gets an upgrade point and gets +1 to man coverage, 2 to play rec, 1 to press, and 4 to zone. Our rookie center, AJ Miller, is next up. We're going to upgrade his agile trait. He is an 80 overall currently. And we want to improve his run blocking, and we get a little bit here. 1 to impact block, 1 to lead block, 4 to pass block though, 1 to run block, and 2 to run block finesse. Rookie outside linebacker Corey Bailey, who we are going to really hope can manage to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. Don't really know what his chances are right now, but he gets an upgrade point. We're going to upgrade that run stopper. He goes up to an 84 overall, and we'll get +1 to agility, 2 to awareness, 1 to block shed, play rec, tackle, and zone. Now for our second year outside linebacker Austin Acosta, we're going to upgrade his pass coverage. Right now an 85 overall, getting +1 to man, play rec, 2 to pursuit, and 2 to zone. And then our final upgrade point is going to go to quarterback Ben Richardson, the man who seemingly has figured out how to play quarterback in the NFL in just the last few games of this season. I was really contemplating looking at new quarterbacks in the draft, but the way he finished this year, and we'll go over that here in just a minute, but the way he finished this year was really impressive. We're going to upgrade his field general, and he is going to end up getting +1 to throw accuracy deep, 2 to mid, 3 to throw on the run, and 1 to throwing under pressure. I really don't know why EA decided that Ryan Clark was the one that was going to like roast your team if you didn't meet season goals, but I guess we predicted that we would have less than 1,300 yards rushing given up, and we did not meet that. And once again, we go back to Ryan Clark as he talks about Zach Harrison. He was disappointed that the kid didn't meet expectations you set for him. I don't even remember what my expectations were for Zach Harrison, but he also didn't play the last 5 games of the season? Whatever, those things are taken care of. Let's take a look at the playoff bracket though, because if you did not watch the last episode, we have some unfortunate news. Remember, we have the Jets first round pick. Well, they managed to win their division and get into the playoffs, so we're going to really hope they get bounced in the wildcard round and don't go on some sort of run. Now for our own draft pick, right now we are sitting at pick number 7. The Jets right now are pick number 23. We do not have a 3rd round pick or a 4th round pick, so we might be trading back in the draft just a bit. But there's one weird thing I want to show you guys about this draft pick, and it starts with this mock draft. So obviously if you scroll down here, you see we are pick number 7. We finished with a 6-10-1 record. But just remember that the Patriots pick 1 spot before us. They have the number 6 pick in the draft right now. And I kind of want to discuss that real fast because it's a little bit interesting. If we go view the standings right here, and then we sort by record, the Patriots ended with 7-10. So why in the hell do they pick before us? That makes no sense. We should have the 6th pick in the draft, but I'm assuming the tie kind of screws with EA's logic a bit. That's just unfortunately something we will have to deal with in this offseason. If anyone knows any weird tiebreakers when it comes to stuff like that, please let me know in the comments, because as of right now, it really looks like we kind of got screwed out of a draft pick. But you know, number 7 pick is still a pretty solid pick for us. But it is now time to move on to the season stats here. So let's go ahead and take a look at quarterback Ben Richardson. Let's see how he played compared to last year. In his rookie year, he had 19 touchdowns and 18 interceptions. This year, 31 touchdowns and 7 picks. But I will tell you right now, I've already even talked about it. The way he ended this season was incredible. We go back to week 1, and he actually had a really solid start to the year. So we started with 7 touchdowns, only 1 interception, actually 8 touchdowns, and only 1 interception. And then he kind of started to fall apart a bit. 2 interceptions here, no touchdowns, no picks here, 1-0, 4-1, 1-0, 1-0. See, you just see he kind of started to fall apart a bit. and then 1-2 against the Bears. But that blowout against Chicago apparently woke him up a bit, because then he had 3 touchdowns against the Packers, only 1 against Cincinnati, but then 3 against Arizona and 4 to close out the season against Tampa Bay with a 314-yard performance. Like I said earlier, I was really considering drafting a quarterback or looking in free agency for a solid backup in case he kept falling apart and not really getting stuff done. His completion percentage was pretty down at some points in the year, but he finished the season really strong, so we will be rolling into next season still with Ben Richardson as our quarterback. As we take a look at the rushing stats now, Keaton Mitchell ran for 944 yards and 6 scores. Ben Richardson, though, 382 yards, but led the team with 7 rushing touchdowns. Zach Moss came away with 1 touchdown as well, and so did Keelan Wayne on only 2 carries this year. I wanted to get him more involved, but the depth chart thing is kind of broken in Madden right now. I can't auto sort it, and randomly sometimes it'll just, I guess if there's a small injury, it'll just auto reorder that whole position. So Zach Moss ended up being our backup running back a lot of the season, even though I wanted it to be Keelan Wayne. We ended up having our franchise's first ever 1,000-yard receiver, as Jamison Williams ends with 86 catches for 1,100 yards and 5 touchdowns. Dylan Kruger had a really solid year as well, 84 catches, 886 yards, and 7 scores. But Brian Duvall, who kind of fell apart at one point during the season, really had a bounce back in the last few games of the year. 73 catches, 2 yards, just 2 yards shy of 1,000 yards, and 11 touchdowns. I firmly believe one of these guys is going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Dimitri Cox had 725 yards and 4 touchdowns. Keaton Mitchell caught 2. Braden Willis even came in and caught 2. It is not going to be much of a shock to anybody that Tracy Wilcox led our team in tackles. I feel like he led the team in tackles most games this year, but he finishes with 131 tackles. Austin Acosta got 102. Corey Bailey down here with only 37 tackles, but for whatever reason in the Buffalo playbook, which is the one I use, it feels like the left outside linebacker does not get on the field that much. In fact, I actually made him our backup middle linebacker so he would find the field a little bit more. In sacks though, Zach Harrison ended with 9.5, and he missed the last 5 games of the season. Zach Sealer came away with 8.5, Javon Hargrave got 5, Acosta got 3, Wilcox got 2, John Franklin Myers got 2, and then Grover Stewart came away with 1. And leading the team in interceptions is Kobe Bryant, who came away with 5. Tracy Wilcox got 3, Emmett Ward got 2, Dax Hill got 1, and Darius Slay came away with 1 as well. Now I want to see who forced the most fumbles. We only forced 1 fumble on the entire year, and it was by Kobe Bryant. That's not exactly a great stat. Our rookie kicker, Glenn Griffin, goes 29 of 34 on the year for 85%. I'm fine with that. He made 43 out of 43 extra points, only got 1 field goal blocked. And then what about punting? We punted the ball 44 times, so let's see how that compared to the rest of the league. Well, we weren't the lowest in the league. That, in fact, will go to, okay, it's definitely not these guys. I would say it's probably the Chiefs or Cincinnati with 23 and 28 punts, but the most punts goes to Cleveland with 61 of them. The Patriots kicker, Will Lutz, went 100% on the year, 13 of 13, but missed 3 extra points, which is interesting in its own right. Jake Moody, 21 of 22, and Jake Elliott, 19 of 20. With special teams out of the way, let's jump into the offensive stats. Joe Burrow led the league by a lot in passing yards, nearly 1,000. He was the only one to cross 5,000 yards this year. What about the most touchdowns? That goes to Patrick Mahomes with 46 of them and only 6 interceptions. Leading the league in picks is Daniel Jones with 23, and the Giants still managed to make the playoffs despite that. Who got sacked the most this season? That would be Baker Mayfield with 37. And I don't see our guy up here. Did we not get sacked that much? Let's see how far down we have to scroll to find him. Ben Richardson all the way down here at 27. Getting the most handoffs this season goes to Travis Etienne, who ran the ball 293 times. Most yards, though, goes to Jonathan Taylor with 1,644. And most touchdowns goes to Josh Jacobs, who came away with 20. Who had the most fumbles? That would be Javonte Williams and Nick Chubb, who both fumbled the ball 3 times. There just doesn't appear to be a lot of fumbles in Madden Simulation. Jamar Chase goes for 124 receptions for 1,697 yards, and I believe both of those are going to lead the league here, and they are, but the most touchdowns goes to Josh Downs, who had 21 of them. Amon-Ra St. Brown came away with 20. Seahawks middle linebacker Divine Diablo led the league in tackles with 137. Tracy Wilcox is only down here at number 4, though. What about the most sacks? Aiden Hutchinson got 17.5, Myles Garrett got 17, and interceptions, Sauce Gardner came away with 8 on the season, And what about pass deflections? Let's just see that. Chuck Clark, so another Jets player. And forced fumbles, yeah, there's just not a lot of forced fumbles in Madden, or fumbles in general in Madden Simulation this year. Before we find out who is playing in this year's Super Bowl, let's take a look at the Pro Bowl roster. And no, our quarterback did not make it. None of our running backs are going to make it here. We might have a receiver, but I highly doubt that. We will not have one. But we do have tight end Dylan Kruger, so our rookie tight end makes the Pro Bowl. I do love to see that. I don't think any of our offensive line is going to make it. Yeah, our offensive line was not exactly great this year. What about defensive end? No one there. Definitely no defensive tackles. And if I miss a name on our team, I do apologize. And I'm kind of surprised that Tracy Wilcox didn't make it. I feel like he had a really good year. Cooper DeJean made it as the #1 corner. I am an Eagles fan. I would love if that stuff kind of happened for Philadelphia in real life. But yeah, I think as long as I did not miss anybody, and like I said, I definitely could have, Dylan Kruger is the only one to make the Pro Bowl, but he had a really good year. And we do manage to get our wish that the Jets actually got bounced in the very first round of the playoffs, and this year's Super Bowl will be between the 1 seed Seattle Seahawks and the 1 seed Kansas City Chiefs. And I was just kind of curious as to what their quarterback situation looked like, and it looks like Josh Dobbs is the starting quarterback for Seattle. What kind of year did he have for them to become the 1 seed and get all the way to the Super Bowl? 34 touchdowns, 17 interceptions, 3,500 yards. I mean, not a bad year, I guess, but that's kind of shocking. Before we simulate that game, though, we do have to check out the yearly awards. So the NFL MVP goes to Patrick Mahomes, and the Coach of the Year, if I can actually manage to get to that screen, goes to Andy Reid. All right, both kind of boring choices, I feel like. The AFC Offensive Player of the Year goes to Mahomes. Defensive Player of the Year goes to Myles Garrett. Offensive Rookie of the Year goes to Clay Russell for the Ravens. Defensive Rookie of the Year goes to Ronald Knox for the Colts. The best quarterback is Mahomes. The best running back is Jonathan Taylor. Best receiver is Josh Downs. Best O-line is Trey Smith. Best D-line is Myles Garrett. Best linebacker is TJ Watt. Best defensive back is Sauce Gardner. And the best kicker goes to Will Lutz. Now, for the NFC awards, this is where we can actually have our guys show up. The Offensive Player of the Year goes to Amon-Ra St. Brown. Ben Richardson does finish in 7th on that list, though. Defensive Player of the Year goes to Aiden Hutchinson. We get no one on that list. Offensive Rookie of the Year goes to Brian Duvall. I had a feeling it was going to one of these two. Defensive Rookie of the Year goes to LaMichael Overstreet for the Giants. Zach Harrison finishes 2nd. I feel like had he been able to play those last few games where our defense was doing really good, he probably could have won Defensive Rookie of the Year. But I don't even see Corey Bailey, which makes sense. I guess he didn't really do a whole lot. We saw that in the stats. Best quarterback goes to Jalen Hurts, but Ben Richardson finishes in 2nd place for that. Best running back goes to Josh Jacobs. Our guy is not there. Best receiver goes to Amon-Ra St. Brown. Brian Duvall finishes 8th on that list. Best offensive lineman goes to Elgton Jenkins for the Packers. And it looks like Gerald Barclay finishes on that list for us. That's our backup left tackle. I don't feel like he should really be on there, but you know what? Whatever. Best D-line goes to Aiden Hutchinson, and Zach Harrison finishes 10th on that. Best linebacker goes to Edgerrin Cooper for the Packers, and it looks like Tracy Wilcox finishes 10th on that. Best defensive back goes to Kobe Bryant. All right, cool. Did not expect that award. He's the only one to make that list for us, though. And best kicker goes to Jake Elliott. It looks like rookie Glenn Griffin finishes 5th. Now, Brian Duvall does earn an upgrade point because of that, but there's another thing that can happen. You can earn a dev trade upgrade when you win Rookie of the Year. So, Brian Duvall, are you now officially a Superstar X Factor? No, he is not. Okay, I was really hoping for that, but I'll still keep a Superstar dev trait. You know, it's pretty solid. We'll upgrade that Playmaker trait for you, and he is going to end up getting +2 to awareness, 4 to break tackle, 2 to catch in traffic, 1 to deep route, juke move, release, spectacular catching, and spin move. I have complained about this before on this channel. The week of the Super Bowl is where your guys can all earn their dev trade upgrades for how they performed on the season. I really wish it wasn't the week of the Super Bowl, because sometimes you get these upgrades and then when you go into the offseason, it takes a lot of them away. We're going to hope that doesn't happen here, but we do have a brand new Superstar dev trade with tight end Dylan Kruger getting up to a Superstar. And then over on defense, we also get Kobe Bryant up to a Superstar dev trade. And speaking as an Eagles fan, Josh Dobbs upsetting Patrick Mahomes is just as big, if not bigger, than Nick Foles upsetting Tom Brady, and that's exactly what happened in this Super Bowl. Seattle wins by a final score of 27-21. I generally do not check out stats from these games, but I wanted to see, because of the final score, if this went overtime, and it in fact did, including a fourth quarter comeback, because it looks like they were down by 7 going into the fourth, tied the game up, forced overtime, and Josh Dobbs, 250 yards and 3 touchdowns. He played amazing in this game. But now we can get to the actual offseason part of this video, and we're going to start with the players that have retired. Shaq Mason has retired, CJ Mosley, Tyrann Mathieu, Grady Jarrett, Brandon Sheriff, Ryan Kelly, Keenan Allen, Grover Stewart, Derek Carr, Darius Slay, Javon Hargrave. So we had 5 players retire on our team. Not exactly great, but we'll move on from that. Wide receiver Devontae Adams, Jimmy Ward, punter Brian Anger, guard Kevin Zeitler, Mitch Morse, Laken Tomlinson, David Bakhtiari, Travis Kelce retires a Bronco, David Andrews, DeMarcus Lawrence, and then let's see if there's any big names down here, or at least names I recognize like Taylor Heineke, Connor McGovern, Marcus Mariota, George Fant, and any other massive names. I'm not really seeing any. Jeff Driscoll, I recognize that name at least. Leonard Floyd, James Bradbury, Daryl Worley, Donovan Smith, and Matt Filer. Yeah, no one else that's like a massive name. The next stage I get to take on is re-signing, but remember whenever I told you guys they could earn a depth trait and then immediately lose it? Well, thankfully it did not happen to Dylan Kruger, but it did happen to Kobe Bryant for some reason. And not only did he dropped from a superstar all the way down to a normal depth trait. I really don't understand that. And honestly, in those situations, I feel like it is perfectly fine to go in here to edit player and completely just change their rating back, because I just really don't agree with that. So we're going to move him back to superstar. He won DB of the year. I feel like that is completely justified. He was our team's leader in interceptions, and he's not super old. So yeah, I'm just going to move that back and we're going to move on. John Franklin Myers, I feel like was okay for us, but he wants nearly $37 million. He's a 78 overall, 30 years old. That's not happening with me. In fact, we're not going to be bringing back any of these guys as of right now. We may bring back someone in free agency, but as of right now, we're letting everyone walk. And the only massive development here is that undrafted free agent William Lyons was a superstar X Factor. Obviously never found the field. I got him up to a 64 overall, but he falls all the way down to a normal depth trait, so we're going to be letting him walk as well. Well, after not re-signing anybody, here is what our current depth chart looks like. Obviously, this will not be how it looks going into the season. I do really want to target offensive line, especially right guard and right tackle this offseason. So in the draft or free agency, if we can get an upgrade there, definitely going to be a goal. Now, over on the defensive side of the ball, we need a lot of help along the D line. We actually don't even have a defensive tackle on the roster currently. Pritchett is actually just a defensive end. The depth chart just kind of thrown him in there. One of the changes I did make on defense here, though, is Zach Harrison actually got bumped down to a star depth trait. He had 9.5 sacks and got injured to finish the last 5-6 games of the year or whatever. So I bumped him back up to a superstar depth trait just because I didn't feel like there was any reason for him to go back to a star as well. And then at free safety, we have no free safety on the roster currently, which is why Jaleel Torrance is up here. We will definitely address that. As you guys are most likely aware, we have no issue with cap space with the way I've done this franchise now. So let's jump into free agency and see if there's anyone that can help this team. There are definitely some massive names here in free agency, especially Aiden Hutchinson and Brian Branch. I don't know if we can land either one of those guys. And granted, Kobe Bryant's already a superstar depth trait, so I don't know if I'd actually go after Branch, especially with no interest. But Aiden Hutchinson is super tempting. I know he has no interest, but we could just throw a lot of money at him and hope for the best, maybe? Let's just see what happens if we offer this to him. A very player-friendly deal. A 6-year contract. We'll make that offer. And we are in the yellow, but are we anywhere close to the top of his list? We actually are, so I'll go ahead and keep that for now. Even if we have to really overpay for him, that would be an amazing piece to add to our defense. Unfortunately, though, it does not appear there are any free safeties really available in free agency. The best one is Kevin Byard, who's a 77 overall at 34 years old. There's Tony Adams at a 76. There's not going to be a superstar here. So the 5 people I am targeting here in the very first stage of free agency, we have safety Nick Cross, defensive tackle Poona Ford, defensive end Dante Stills, and defensive tackle Bobby Brown. And then the big guy we are trying to get, Aiden Hutchinson. Obviously, it's a lot of money we are throwing at him, but we're going to really hope that we can actually land this. So let's jump to the next stage, and do we land anybody? Aiden Hutchinson is still waiting. Dante Stills is still waiting. but we do land Nick Cross, Poona Ford, and Bobby Brown. I changed around just a bit here. We're still going after Dante Stills, but I've added Zach Sealer to come back just in case we need another left end. At right tackle, I'm going after Taylor Moton. I'm going after a punter and Bryce Behringer just because he has decent ratings and I don't feel like trying to sort through all the free agents afterwards to get a punter, and maybe he'll be good for us. But anyway, then we still have Aiden Hutchinson, and I have upped his money quite a bit, and we're going to see if that can get him to commit here. So let's see, go to the next stage. Everyone is gone. We get Nick Cross, we still have Poona Ford, Dante Stills, Brian Brown, and Behringer, but we do not land Aiden Hutchinson as much as I would have really loved to have him. So we will just try to continue going after Taylor Moton and Zach Sealer. Do we land either one of them here? They are both gone. And we do land Moton, and we land Sealer. I scrolled right past him. So this is our free agency class for this year. No one's super flashy. I tried to throw a ton of money at Aiden Hutchinson, but he had very little interest in coming here. In the free agency recap, we can see that we lost Aiden Hutchinson to Seattle. Brian Branch is now a Raider. Tyreek Hill is headed to Tennessee. Ronnie Stanley is now a Bronco. Brian O'Neill is now a Patriot. Michael Pittman is now a Saint. Tyler Biadish is now a Patriot. And Kenny Moore is now a Giant. What's Kendall Fuller? He is going to be part of Cincinnati. Let's take a look at the final mock draft. So we know the Broncos are most likely going to go Jose Person, who is a top 5 talent at defensive end. Lamar Lambert's going to go 2, Chad Cook, Stephen Green, Courtney Abraham. And hey, look at that. It actually managed to fix our draft pick once we got into the offseason. So we have the number 6 pick, and we are expected to take a defensive end and Mike Golson. But where's our other pick going to be? It's going to be way down here at pick number 23, where we expected to take a defensive tackle. But before we get into the draft, we have made a trade. Dimitri Cox, who has been a really solid receiver for us, has started to fall down the depth chart now, so we have traded him over to the Buffalo Bills in exchange for a 3rd and a 6th round pick in this draft. And we're making one more trade. Wide receiver Kyrie Smith, who was part of our very first draft class, another guy that's kind of been buried on the depth chart right now. We're going to send him over to Cleveland, where he may actually get some playing time, and in exchange we get a 4th and a 6th round pick for this draft as well. The top of our receiver room still looks fine. We have Brian Duvall, Jamison Williams, and Sidney Peters, who we now know is a star depth trait. Never got to figure that out last season, and I think that's going to work, but we may also end up drafting a receiver. So just to recap, here is what our actual draft board now looks like. Remember, we did not have a 3rd or a 4th round pick earlier. Now we have a 3rd, a 4th, and 3 6s currently, and we may end up doing a lot of trading in this draft. We'll see exactly how well the board falls for us. Let's just see how the first 5 picks go as of right now. So as we go to the next pick, the Denver Broncos are going to select Jose Person, as we already kind of knew. And that's really the only pick I actually wanted to see. So let's go to the next user pick. And you can see Lamar Lambert, Chad Cook, Stephen Green, and Courtney Abraham. So exactly how the mock draft predicted it would go. Sometimes I really just love the trade options that Madden will give you, because take a look at this offer from the Saints. All they're going to give us is pick 11. That would just be them moving up 5 spots for absolutely nothing. What kind of trade offer even is this? Instead of that trade with the Saints, that would be obviously stupid to take, we're going to trade with Washington, fall back 6 picks, and pick up a 3rd rounder this year. And with that number 12 pick from Washington, we're going to take defensive tackle Jamarcus Norwood out of Vanderbilt. I understand his projection says rounds 1 to 2, but he's got B awareness, B block shed, B finesse move, A play rec, B tackle. I think this guy's going to be pretty solid. He's got great strength. So Jamarcus Norwood, you are coming to Toronto, and he is going to be number 53 in true value, so not great there, but is a normal depth trait. Okay, that is not what we wanted. Well, hopefully we can make up for that pick with this one. At pick number 23 with the Jets pick, we're going to take left guard Deontay Waddle out of Virginia, A awareness, A impact block, B pass block, B run block, elite strength, and we're going to put him over at right guard for us. And let's see what he's going to come in as. Number 48 in true value and a hidden dev trait. So at least we got that one right. Just a handful of picks later, now in the 2nd round at pick number 6, we're going to take safety Lyle Blue out of Washington State. And hopefully this pick does not come back to kill us here. 31 in true value, drafted him at 38. Obviously that's, solid to see. But a hidden dev trait, that is really what I wanted to see. Looking around this draft class, there just really has not been a ton of talent that I am able to see, at least. But I think here in the 3rd round with pick number 12, we're going to take Antoine Edmonds. Yes, as of right now, he will be our 3rd string tight end. but I really like most of the attributes that I see here. A awareness, A pass block, A spectacular catch, A catching, and then he also has great speed. Yeah, Antoine Edmonds, you are coming to Toronto, and he will be number 8 in true value and a hidden dev trait, so I am perfectly fine with this pick. I have been looking through all of the 3rd round prospects and even early 4th round prospects, and I really don't see anyone I want to burn pick number 19 in the 3rd round on. So we're going to make this trade with Houston and pick up a 4th, 5th, and a 6th rounder this year and a 7th rounder next year. Moving on into the 4th round now with pick number 10. From here, I will mostly be drafting guys that I think could be projects and develop on our bench. And we're going to start that with defensive tackle Britton Newkirk out of Buffalo. And let's see what his true value is. Number 111 in true value, drafted him at 106, and a normal dev trait. But I think he has solid block shedding, and we should be able to develop him somewhat. We have another pick just 4 picks later here at pick number 14 in the 4th round, and I'm looking at outside linebacker Scott Barber out of Michigan. C block shed, B pursuit, A tackle, great speed, great acceleration. His awareness is a C to an F, which is kind of concerning, but like I said, these guys are projects. So Scott Barber, welcome to Toronto. And he will be 89 in true value, and he has a hidden dev trait. We now move on to round number 5, where I'm going to take a flyer out on wide receiver Joe Wayne out of Arizona State. B catching traffic and A catching. Not the fastest receiver in the world, but does have some pretty solid hands. So let's see, he's going to end up being number 42 in true value and a normal dev trait. Okay, I thought he might be a hidden, and I thought that was going to be a really diamond in the rough find. But still, at a normal dev trait and that high in true value, I am fine with that in the 5th round. With our other 5th round pick, we're going to take safety Braxton Cunningham out of North Carolina State, and he is going to be coming in as number 135 in true value, drafted him at 142, and a normal dev trait. So not great, but does have 91 speed. Now, this is the round where I may have went a little bit overboard because we have 4 picks in round number 6. And I really think we still need some help at defensive end. So let's see if there's anybody here that is solid. In block shed, Donnie Roper has a B, Ernest Logan, Tony George C to F. Does have a power move though. Is that the highest here? It definitely is. B awareness as well. That's pretty solid. A tackle, not great hit power. A to C pursuit, A stamina, C to F injury. You know what, Tony George, you're projected to go undrafted, but we're going to fulfill your dream. And you will be coming to Toronto, and he is going to be number 66 in true value, so that's pretty solid, and is a hidden dev trait as well. With our next pick in the 6th round, I'm not even going to lie to you guys, we're going to go right to physicals. Actually, we're going to go to combine. We're going to go over a wide receiver, and we're going to draft the fastest guy available, and that is going to be Sidney Landry. What kind of catching does Sidney Landry have? It is a D, C catching traffic, F deep route, F release. You know what? Maybe we're not just going to draft the fastest guy on the board. He did run a 4.34 at his pro day, though. Well, now I'm going to take that part back. We're still going to be drafting one of the fastest guys on the board, but instead it's going to be corner Antoine Palmer. C catching, C man coverage, and C press. Welcome to Toronto. Number 169 in true value. Drafted him at 170 with a normal dev trait. In the 6th round, you really can't be upset by that. We are going to go ahead and grab another defensive tackle in this draft. I understand that is 3 that I have drafted, but I can't even guarantee you that Denard Morgan's going to make the team here, but he will be getting drafted to Toronto. Number 261 in true value. All right, not my best pick I've ever made, and is a normal dev trait. We are down to our final pick of the 6th round, and I'm looking at wide receiver Jeff McLeod here. He has B release, C short route running, B spectacular catch, D catching, but C catching traffic, and he's 6'5". How fast are you? A 4.55 and a 4.49, so that's decent speed. Yeah, McLeod, why not? We'll take a flyer out on you. He is going to be number 120 in true value, drafted him at 179, and a normal dev trait. And now, finally, with our final pick in this draft, pick number 6 in the 7th round, we're going to take running back DeAndre Dean out of Florida Atlantic, 21 years old, and I think this dude is the definition of a power back here, because he is going to come in with B ball carrier vision, C carrying, but A stiff arm and B trucking. So DeAndre Dean, welcome to Toronto, and he is number 288 in true value. That's not great to see, but he is also a normal dev trait, another thing not great to see. Well, I don't think this draft went near as well as last year's, but I still feel like we got some really good players. Jamarcus Norwood is a 73 overall, unfortunately a normal dev trait, but Deontay Waddle, who I've already moved to right guard, is a 73. We got a 74 overall safety, a 76 overall tight end. So he's immediately actually our second string tight end behind Dylan Kruger, a 68 overall defensive tackle, a 70 overall outside linebacker, a 73 overall receiver in Joe Wayne. Now he was a normal dev trait, a 68 in Braxton Cunningham, a 71 in Tony George, the guy that was projected to go undrafted with a hidden dev trait. So hopefully he's pretty good for us. A 67 overall corner, a 64 overall defensive tackle, a 68 overall receiver, and then DeAndre Dean, who I can't even see his overall. He is a 65 overall. We did not even have a chance to take the number one player in the draft. That was tight end Chad Cook, who went to Miami. A 77 overall Jose Person was the number one overall pick. There was a 77 overall corner. We did pass on Donovan Tarpley, a 77 overall corner. This was apparently a really good year for tight ends. Alexander Bacon, a 77 overall, went in the beginning of the third round. Wide receiver Nick Simpson was a 76 overall with 95 speed. Running back Nathan Gallimore was a 76. So, I think this was kind of a weak draft class. The highest rate of players a 79, and past that, it's just a bunch of 77 and lower. But anyway, that will wrap up this offseason video, as we now are ready for season 3, or at least nearly ready. In between episodes, I will be signing some veterans and undrafted free agents to the team, just to see if they can make a difference on this team during the preseason. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this one, and I will talk to you next time.